Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Do you remember my old gold Mercedes S-Class that I bought for just £1,500? I did several videos with it. I even took it to the most northern point on mainland Britain. Anyway, I've been in Spain for about a week, and in my absence it's been swapped for something which I think is quite interesting. I haven't actually had one of these cars for some time, but I've always liked them. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for them. Shall I give you some clues? Okay then, what can I tell you? It's part American, part German. I think it's quite good looking. No, it's not Sandra Bullock. It has a 3.2 litre V6 petrol engine. It was available as either a coupe or a convertible. Have you figured it out yet? Okay, one last clue, and I think this will give it away. Jeremy Clarkson once famously described the coupe version of this car as having a rear end which looks like a dog squatting to do its business. Well done if you got it right. It is, of course, the Chrysler Crossfire. I love these. I think they're really cool. They're just really characterful. I always thought they were quite pretty and interesting. Of course it is American, but underneath it's an old Mercedes SLK. Actually I had one of these as my own car when I first moved to the UK 11 years ago. Only mine was an automatic, as most of them were. That's what makes this one quite unusual. This is a 6-speed manual. This 3.2 litre V6 was the only engine available. It's a chain-driven Mercedes unit and it is bulletproof. It's the same engine that they used in all sorts of stuff, from the S-Class to the ML to the E-Class to the C-Class. They used it in a whole range of Mercedes and they were always, touch wood, they're always quite reliable. It's quite a small car this for such a big engine, which means when you want to sting it, watch out for little children, it really is quite quick actually. Sounds good too. It's an old car this now, nearly 20 years old in fact, but it's absolutely immaculate. We've got heated seats, a very snazzy cup holder there, look at that. It does feel like you're sat in a Mercedes of this era. All the switchgear and stuff is straight out of a Merc. Now my old Mercedes S-Class owed me around £2,500, so we did a straight swap with the guy on this, plus we included some road tax. So it owed me £2,500, the road tax on the gold Merc for 12 months was £395, so this Crossfire currently stands me at £2,900. Shall I give you a quick tour of it first? Right, let me find a dogging spot. This thing flies, you know. The steering's a bit vague and numb like you'd imagine on a Mercedes of this era. Why do I want to keep this? I've got an illness. Oh, lovely. Someone's left a under-counter fridge there for me. Don't you love fly tippers? Let me show you around it then. It is quite windy out here today, so you'll have to excuse the wind noise. We're definitely coming into autumn now. So the inside is actually very tidy. Like I said, there's no wear on anything. We've got air conditioning, heated seats. Ah, I'd forgotten about that. You've got a little hidden cup holder there. Coin holder, sorry. Oh, got some Wonga in here, guys. Car gets cheaper, doesn't it? Free fiver there. Never been smoked in. You know what, this is actually a nice clean example. We've got some service receipts there and previous MOTs. That's all good. I always thought the interiors of these were quite nice. You've got the Chrysler logo there, embossed into the headrest, a bit like a Bentley. Central storage unit there, where we've got some more money. Another 6p. The leather's not worn, we've got cruise control. We have only got the one key unfortunately, but even the keys Mercedes, look at that. There's bits of rubbish everywhere which I can soon clean out. We've got electric seats. Just wants a good clean this really. We've got mats over mats, always a good sign. I like the Crossfire sill there, very snazzy. Does it show the colour code? Or the colour name, should I say. It's almost like Jaguar's Italian Racing Red, isn't it, that? It's a good colour. Something that's interesting about, well, I say interesting, you might not find it interesting, they've got smaller wheels on the front and bigger wheels on the back. So up front, we've got an 18-inch wheel, and then around the back, we're rolling on 19s. There we go. I'm such a geek, honestly. I think it's a really cool car, that. They just don't make cars like this anymore. We've got Goodyear Eagle F1 tyres, which were replaced about a month ago. So we're on about 7mm of tread there. About 5 or 6 on the back. Headlamps could do with a buff. It does need some new reg plates. I'm quite giddy about this. There's the fridge that someone's left. Lovely. Obviously, before I agreed to do the deal, I checked it out using Car Vertical. Now, it's really easy to use. All you do is go to carvertical.com, type in the vehicle reg. In this case, it was Golf Juliet 54 Delta X-Ray Golf. And what's good about this is it checks databases in dozens of countries. Hundreds of millions of cars are checked. It's just loading the report now. And there we go. So it's never been stolen. It's never had a mileage rollback. There's no outstanding finance, and it's never been involved in a recorded accident. We've got some write-up there about them. Last known mileage was 100, so that was the last MOT. So it had an MOT in January this year at 100,000 miles. In 21, somebody's entered the wrong mileage in there, but it is all genuine. And really, for a 19-year-old car, 100,000 miles isn't particularly high, is it? We've got the average selling prices there. So this is a 3.2 litre petrol manual, 2-door, right-hand drive, 6-cylinder. We know that. It was manufactured and then registered in September 04. Failed its first MOT on tyres, yeah. I imagine this kind of car will wear through tyres if you drive it a little bit spiritedly. It's had several reg plates. This was quite interesting, I thought. It failed its MOT in January this year on a load of stuff, but then it passed with not a single advisory item, so I assume all that work's been done. By the way, if you want to do one of these checks for yourself, and I urge you to do so before you hand over any cash for a used car or motorbike, then don't forget to use my promo code HIGHPEAK for 10% off each and every check that you do. Or alternatively, click the link below in the video description. I always like the back of these as well. I know Clarkson said it looked like a squatting dog, but I just think it's quite cool. It's almost like my AMG GT actually in shape. I love the central exhaust, and you've got this spoiler here which pops up at I think 70 miles an hour. I also like the individual letters there spelling out Crossfire. Right, the boot was quite small, always was quite small on these. I mean, it's quite deep, it's just the actual entry space to load your stuff in is a bit small. Still, if you want a spacious car, you don't buy little two-seat roadster, do you? It is in quite good nick though, isn't it? There's not really an awful lot to do to this. The bodywork's all good. The previous owner, like I say, has had it resprayed, and I assume that was because of rust. Should have asked, shouldn't I, really? No, very bright. With a quick clean, that should clean up nicely. Let's have a look under the bonnet then. And unlike the Audi TT in red that I bought recently, which had a complete respray as well, this one has been done by an adult with working eyes. This is actually quite a good respray. That TT was not. Well, it's all nice and original under here, isn't it? No weird mods, no silly cane and air filters or anything like that. No rust or anything. It all looks quite good actually. And the strut works. Look at the size of that. Right, well I think I'm going to run this down to my mechanics then for a service and an MOT, then take it to the valeters, and then I think we've got a decent retail car. I'll catch up with you later. And we're back in the Chrysler Crossfire. And when I agreed to do this deal, I swapped it for the Gold Mercedes. The Gold Mercedes had a couple of issues, which I was open about. I thought, yeah, I've had my fun with that now. Let me move on to pastures new. Well, how can I explain this? Are you familiar with the phrase, out of the frying pan into the fire? Thinking about it, I think that's the best way to explain my jump from my W220 S-Class into this old Crossfire. It hasn't been without its problems. After we last spoke, I took this Crossfire down to my mechanics for a service, an MOT, and just a general check over. What happened next is a sadly familiar outcome. It sat there for weeks and weeks and weeks. They got it up on the ramp and it turned out it had oil leaks from the engine, it had gearbox leaks from the gearbox, and various other bits wrong with it. It had a cracked alloy. What else? I'll go through it later. Anyway, it wasn't a simple job, and trying to get hold of the parts for this car was a bit of an issue. They sorted the engine oil leak out. That was just a case of replacing the rocker cover gaskets. But the gearbox issue was some sort of pipe that was split or cracked or something, so it was leaking fluid from that. And that, unfortunately, had to be sourced from, I think, Italy, of all places. So as it turns out, this old Crossfire wasn't the wisest decision I've made, and it certainly wasn't the best example of an American-German partnership. Anyway, it's all sorted now. After my mechanic had sorted out all those issues, she said it's still got a cracked alloy, and that's something that we can't do. So I took it over to Prestige Wheels in Bredbury, who I use for wheel refurbs, and they do it there. In fact, I had two. I had one on an Audi A6 and also one on this Crossfire. So for, I think it was £80 plus VAT, they welded it for me. The very next day it was ready, so I picked the car up, ran it back down to my mechanic for a clean MOT, which is now got with not a single advisory item. Then from there I took it to Tameside Valeting for a full valet. I also asked them to clean the headlamp, well, buff the headlamps, but they've started to go on the inside, not the outside, so buffing, as hard as they tried, made absolutely no difference. But still, it's cleaned up really well, and now I'm actually quite pleased with it. It's quite good fun to drive. Personally, I'd rather have an automatic, but if you give this one some stick, you sort of show it who's boss, it can be quite fun. The old 3.2 V6 sounds beautiful as well. It really screams. These probably aren't the best roads or conditions to be testing it out. Right, anyway then, I've now got this for sale for £3,995. So what I'm about to do is talk you through my costs. And unfortunately, you know the way this is going, don't you? I've massively overspent. Massively. I was hoping this was going to cost me maybe £500 to sort out. It's considerably more than that. Let me just find somewhere scenic to park up and I shall go through the costs with you. I think here will do then. We're fogging up today. It's a rather wet, miserable day. The dogleg reverse gear takes some getting used to. Say what you will about the Crossfire, I quite like them. They're an awfully sporty, rare, unusual car for this sort of money. They are getting on a bit now, so I suppose you've got to expect some issues. Right, in fact, let me get my calculator out. I think the gold Mercedes owed me £2,500, so I think this one then stands me at the same. And I threw in some road tax. I shouldn't have done really in hindsight. I threw in 12 months road tax at £395. So this car actually owes me £2,895, plus the alloy wheel refurb was £96, including the VAT. My bill at my valeters was £70. I haven't replaced the number plates. I was going to, and then I've just got back this morning. I've been up to Scotland, down to London. I've had a busy week. I didn't get a chance to order them. So, and they're not that bad. I should save £15, shouldn't I, not bother replacing them. My bill at my mechanics was, you ready for this? Bear in mind we're up to 3,061 already, and it's on at 3,995. MOT test fee £40. Rear brake pads £29.95. Oil filter £13.50. Oil £28. This seatbelt squeaks give me a migraine. PAS, sorry. It wasn't a gearbox leak, it was a leak on the, it was leaking steering fluid. PAS fluid, £30. Both rocker cover gaskets, £59.60. Bulbs, various bulbs, £8. Reposition near side front flexi hose. Don't know why, but it was obviously relevant and necessary. Swap tyre to new rim and balance, yeah. Power steering pipe from main dealer in Italy for some reason. So it was a power steering pipe that was leaking, not the gearbox. Anyway, it was still £348.56. Now my mechanic called me to say, I can't source one of these pipes anywhere apart from Italy for some reason. It's £300 and something. Do you want to go ahead with it? And at that point I thought, well, I can't not, can I? If they can't source it, I can't source it. I didn't even know what it was. Anyway, plus the labour was £425. That takes my total to £1,171.13. 1171.13. Bear in mind, let's not forget it's on at 3,995. This owes me £4,232.13. What a cracking bit of business. I really should go on Dragon's Den, shouldn't I, one of these days? Hey, I'm thinking of setting up a used car business where I spend too much buying them in the first place, then spend too much fixing them, and then sell them usually, if I'm lucky, break even. Thankfully, they're not all like this, and I am quite pleased to have rescued a little Crossfire, because I am quite partial to them. Right, well on that note, thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. I'll leave the links below. And yeah, cheers guys. See you next time.